How's it going, my fellow collectors? This is Link's Reviews, and I'm Link, and today we're going over the review of the Hot Toys Venompool Marvel Contest of Champions figure review. Now, this is absolutely amazing. I was super excited on the unboxing. If you saw that video, go check it out. Now, this is going to be an overview of the figure and my thoughts and a review, so I don't know how long this is going to take, but hopefully you enjoy this video and you find it informative. Okay, so we're going to start off with the accessories, and then we'll move on to the figure. So, you get two fist hands. These are very nicely textured and detailed. I also will say, though, they're very hard to get on and off. Actually, off is very easy. Getting the hands on, I've found proved to be a bit of a challenge, but I also have action tremors, so that could have done it. Then we have one hand that can hold the gun that comes with it, and I didn't even know this until after I was messing with this, but this gun cocks. So you can pull it back. It doesn't stay back as far as I can tell, but you can cock it, which is very cool. So then you get two open hands, one pointer hand, and two sword hands. You get a phone for one of the open hands, which is very cool. Deadpool's got a phone, urgent call. And you get two extra tongues for the open mouth. I have one on him, one for the right, and one for pointed up and one pointed down. And then we have this secondary head. Now, this secondary head has something very special. It can actually unclip the eyes so that you can put these two squinted eyes in, and you can interchange them. So you can have one eye really wide open and one eye squinted to give it a very dynamic look, which is very cool. And I'll put pictures on all of this. Probably small images down here in the corner, or take up the full screen. I haven't decided yet, but then you get these two symbiote tentacles that can, I don't know what else to call them, unfortunately. That's just what I guess I'm calling them. They're just symbiote web tentacles, and they come out of his back. So you have one long one and one shorter one, which is nicely, and they are bendable, so you can pose them. They've got a wire on the inside of them. They take a little bit of finagling to get them to the spot that you want to, but that means that they'll stay in that position for a long time. So that is very cool. So, next up, we're going to start on the figure. We're going to move from the feet to the chest and legs to the arms, and then this top head. So this figure is absolutely awesome. It's very maneuverable, very sturdy, doesn't need a base. So the feet itself are very nicely textured. The leather on him, because this is all textured, and it feels super cool, and it feels like leather or and like a rubber mixture, but it is so textured. It is so nice. And he's got these nice added details of these movable metal shackles on him, which is a very nice touch. So then we move up onto the legs, where you can just see the veins bulging through his legs, and it's so detailed, and you can feel that when you touch it. It's absolutely amazing. So as we're moving up, we start seeing some pouches. Now, these pouches do not open, and they are hard, and you cannot remove them, but they are extremely well detailed. And I mean extremely well detailed. I'm very impressed. Also, why I have it in this pose, because this is the pose that I'm going to keep it with, because I can't fit where I'm going to put it with these tentacles on there. So now we move up to the chest. Also, he has a very nice Deadpool emblem on his belt, which is very cool. And everything is bulked up because he's way bigger. So that is super cool. So now we move up to the chest. So we see that he's ripping. Also, I should say that he's basically, the symbiote is trying to be the main costume. So my guess is that Deadpool has stapled on pieces of his costume, because you see these metal staples onto it, and it is so gruesomely awesome. I cannot begin to explain to you how cool this is. So now we move on to the chest piece and the sword belts across from him. Now, they are very nicely detailed. They do have some wiggle room. You can move them around slightly, but they are so nicely detailed. I can't begin to explain to you how good and detailed these are. And I think you can actually... No, it doesn't look like... Oh, it may be. You may be able to take this off. I'm not going to try to, because what if I accidentally force it? So, I'm not going to try to do that. but it is very nicely detailed, and you will see on his arms and legs these patches of symbiote. Now the really cool thing is the veins on here have a purple tone, and I'll show you an image of that right now. But it is so nicely detailed. I cannot begin to explain to you how much work had to have gone into this to just get these subtle tones. They can't pick up on camera. I'm on video camera. I don't have a good enough video camera for that. But from the eyes, I see this purple shading. So that's why I'll have photos of that for you. But it's so amazingly detailed. So now we'll move on to the hands. So we have the veins bulging on his arms and the red leather, just like the legs. So nicely detailed with the metal staples. And then these shackles move around, and they help cover, like, the creases from when you put the hand on, so you don't notice them as much. I love how subtle hiding spots, like subtle accessories, can, like, hide the big things that most you don't want to see because it's like an eyesore. You don't want that to be super visible. Also, you can pull these arms out a bit further so you can get them more in maneuverable positions and then push them back in, and that so it locks it. Because when you raise it this high, it wants to fall down, but since you can push it back in, that keeps it into place. So that's a very nice touch that they did. So that's super cool. You'll also, when you bend any of the joints, you'll hear a clicking sound. That's the joints rotating and moving so that they stay in place from where you move it. So don't crank on them too much because you might snap the pieces. But just err on the side of caution because you don't want to be too rough with this stuff. So now we're going to move on to the back, which is where, actually I think I'll move on to his swords. They are very cool and very nicely detailed. I will say this, when I was putting the swords on his hands, I heard like a creak or a crack. I'm not sure from what, but I think it was from the Suba, which is the guard of the sword. So I'm worried that I might have loosened it up a bit, but it doesn't look like I did too much, but just be aware of that if you get this figure. And then, okay, so now we're going to move on to the back, which is where you have this sword holsters. I can't remember what it's called. It's just the holder for the swords. And this pops in and out quite easily. It's just a tab. And then back here as well, there's these two spots right underneath this. I'll show a picture of that where you can put these. Make sure you put them on the right side because I actually put mine on the wrong sides and they can get stuck in there and you're going to have to really yank them out. Because they are different lengths and different sizes of pegs slightly. Not enough to not be able to prevent you from putting it in, but enough to making it, pulling it out is a lot harder. So, there we have that. I'm going to put this back on. So now we move on to this head. This head does not have the removable eyes, but this is what I call the Devourer head. He's gonna flip and eat you, he's charging, he's angry, which is why when you see my sideshow at the end of this video, you'll see I slightly created a story almost. And I'll explain the story a little bit later, but this head is so detailed. The teeth are sticking out slightly. His tongue is glistening with drool. The only thing you could have done more with this tongue is if you added like globs of drool onto it. But I guess if you want to take the risk to customize them, you can do that yourself. If you can do that successfully, more power to you. I, on the other hand, not doing that. I think tongues look great by themselves. It stands upright very well, like super well. Although, I could spend hours figuring out different ways to pose it. Mostly because I am not the best poser. I find a pose that I like and I stick pretty much to it. But I would give this a definite 10 out of 10. Like, this is definitely, I know I say definitely part of my top 5, but I do have different categories. So, like, I have a top 5 on Funko Pops. I have a top 5 on statues. I have a top 5 in Marvel, top 5 in DC. I have to break it up into categories, otherwise everything would just become too complicated. And I would start arguing with myself on which was better. And then I'd probably piss some people off when I chose other ones. But, as I was saying, definite 10 out of 10. If you can get this, I would recommend going to Sideshow. They have exclusive with another head, so you can get 2 heads, or you can go into HotToys.com official. I did a pre-order for this. I know that Sideshow does do layaway payments now for after, so you can still do flex payments, so you don't have to pay it all in one go. I think I almost spent $500 or $600 on this. I can't remember the exact price, unfortunately, and I can't give you the dimensions on this. I have a tape measure, but that thing is just so clunky that it's almost impossible to get it accurate. I just need to get an actual ruler. So, project for the future. But again, thing's so cool, 10 out of 10. I'll tell you the story actually now for the Sideshow. The story is Deadpool is just chilling out when something pisses him off, and then you'll see the rest of it. And then at the end, he does a joke because it's going to involve this film. But stay tuned for the Sideshow. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Trying to get to 500 subscribers before the end of 2020. If you can help me out with that, that would be great. Share this video with your friends. That will also help it to grow. Follow me on Twitter. I also have a Patreon for $1 a month to get all my videos a day early. And yeah, that's it, guys. So, as always, my fellow collectors, have a nice day, and peace out.